Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. It's Sloan Rhodes with your podcast for the week of March 19th, 2017. I was thinking this week a lot about completion because for my weekly spiritual guidance YouTube video, I drew the karmic completion card. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about endings and beginnings because it's kind of an interesting place to be in. A lot of times we feel super uncomfortable in this place because there's a lot of ambiguity. You know, the mystery of what is to come has not yet been revealed, and the old feels a little tired, or we, feel a sense of completion with it. So we're kind of in this place of transition, which can often be uncomfortable or frustrating. But remember that we're often in this place, this kind of stopgap place, this kind of timeout place, this kind of embryonic place, because we don't know what is to be revealed. We don't know where we're going yet. It has yet to be unmasked, so to speak. And part of the reason for that is because we have yet to unmask our new selves to ourselves. So there's this place where we're kind of, I'm coming back to this idea of sort of we're an embryo. We're in this embryonic state where we haven't yet fully formed because we're kind of ending a cycle of spiritual lessons or just hardships or difficulties or joys, whatever it may be. But it can feel uncomfortable, and many people are very uncomfortable with ambiguity. Many people like to have a plan in place because, we as beings have been ruled by our egos for so long because our egos have kept us safe and secure. Seemingly so because we have this level of fear and adrenaline running through our body that the ego likes to keep there, to keep us, historically to keep us in this place of safety from what may jump out, so to speak. But we are entering a new consciousness upon the planet. We are entering a new phase of our evolution. And so that fear and adrenaline is no longer necessary. So when we're in this sort of place, this stopgap place, it's often a nice place for the ego to come in and try to force us into old patterns, clinging to the past. And so it becomes much easier to sort of navigate and to allow this place of not knowing as we end a cycle if we can be as present as possible in the moment, knowing that it's necessary to have this kind of time out energy. And, I think it's so easy for us to get worried because we don't know what's to come yet. And our egos can come in so strongly, as I've already mentioned. But remember that you're not the same person you were before you went, you had undergone this experience or this pattern, cycle, however you want to kind of consider it. Remember, you're at the end of a cycle. You're at the end of a pattern of behavior or spiritual growth, or however it's kind of showing up for you. And it could even be something like an education. Maybe you're ending you're finally getting your degree, but yet you don't have the new job yet, or you're not even sure if what you studied has prepared you for the job that you want. So that's one way it may show up for you. Or even if you've given birth to a child and you're entering a new phase of raising the child, or you've gotten married, so you're no longer the fiancés, now you're the husband and wife, or man, husband or wife and wife, however it shows up for you, with so many beautiful options now in terms of marriage. So this place doesn't have to be uncomfortable, but it often is. So one of the ways that you can kind of begin to mitigate some of these feelings of fear or just even uncomfortableness or frustration is to settle in and to remind the mind that the next phase is coming. There's nothing to worry about. And right now you are just in a place of integration, making sure that you've kind of solidified the new you before you step forward into something that feels brand new for you. So I just want to remind everyone of that, because there is this idea that we have to be completely ready before the next phase begins. And of course we can strive for that, but remember that there's no actual destination. There's no there to get to. We're here upon the planet Earth in the incarnation that we've chosen to understand ourselves and to reveal more of our soul to our soul. And so we've chosen an incarnation in which to do that. So there isn't actually a destination. Even if you finally get your degree, or you finally have that child, or you finally get that job, that is not the thing that will bring you, that sense of completion. It's just that thing is over now, and there's a whole new phase to learn. So you're constantly seemingly completing and beginning new cycles, but it's actually never a real completion. It's just a continual evolution, let's say. So if you can kind of remind the mind of that, it does get easier as you move along. And some of the things that you can do, I've talked about it in another podcast about being present, about being open to what is available right now. But one of the ways you can really go even further into it is to be present, as I've already discussed, in the moment, and begin to amplify the excitement that you feel at what is to come. Remember, whenever we get caught up in fear and worry, those are just stories that we're telling ourselves. And they're just really sad, negative stories usually. But they don't actually help us. They're not actually serving a purpose. They're not helping us plan. They're just keeping that level of fear and adrenaline running through our body, which is what the ego is familiar with. So therefore, the ego likes to, keep that familiarity always available to it. But remember that you're shifting away from an ego-centered form of existence now, which is why you've chosen to incarnate during this time of planetary ascension and rising consciousness. So remind the mind that, whatever it is that you are wanting is coming, and that you are safe and secure right here and now. And be present by noticing color, noticing beauty. One of the best ways to bring yourself immediately present is to notice beauty, because you can't be in admiration of something and also be fearful of it at the exact same time. And so whenever you are admiring something, when you are in that place of admiration, fascination, it's just another way of being in love with the moment, which is being very, very present. Because being present really is just another word for being in love with what is, loving what is. And so even if something is manifesting that's not your preference, say you've completed your degree and now you've sent out 500 resumes and you haven't received a call back yet, be in that moment of, wow, isn't it interesting that I've sent out 500? Who knew it was going to be that many? And I can't wait to find out what job I get, and who will work there, what will my office look like, or what will the office look like, and I wonder what kind of amazing parking I'll have and where I'll go to lunch, and the new people I will make, and who my coworkers, the new people I will meet, and the new coworkers I'll have, and what will be the way that I begin to express myself more fully in the world in this new position. And you begin to tell yourself this incredible story, which is a very different story than, oh my God, I'm never going to get another job. I sent out 500 resumes. You can imagine 500 resumes. Imagine all the kinds of people who are reading my resume, and how many other people just like myself. I feel so connected to everyone because we're all going through similar experiences. And there's just a way to shift the energy from a place that's kind of harder and more egoic and more fearful into a place that's more open and allowing and loving. It does take a little bit of practice, but it will get easier as the more you practice it. And the more that you can kind of create little moments of humor or little moments of consciousness or expanded sense of self, it creates cracks in an older way of being. And so every little crack that you make, every little moment that you can create some love or openness or consciousness, it helps to slowly disintegrate the old pattern of egoic need, want, fear, anxiety, all of that. And so you can just kind of remember that little moments upon little moments are what are help shift patterns where we feel really uncomfortable, especially when we are at the end of a cycle, because this is often when the ego can come in so strongly. Because you're about ready to go into something brand new, and the ego loves the familiar. The ego knows that it's familiar. The ego knows how to handle that, and you are experiencing something new. You can intuit fresh energy coming in. When you've kind of completed a cycle, even if it's not something like a job. A lot of times it's just an energetic feel we have, I really feel like I'm done with this, and I don't know what's to come yet. That's often a time when the ego will come in and go, well, too bad. You're supposed to be doing this, or you should be further along, or blah, blah, blah. And so just say, okay, wow, ego, thanks for showing up right on time. But, I'm beginning to shift create some consciousness, some conscious shifts around this pattern. And again, being consistent really is going to be probably the most beneficial for you as you begin to move into a new phase or a new cycle of your development and evolution. as a soul. And you can't do it wrong. You're here on the planet to reveal more of yourself to yourself. As a soul, you've incarnated in this particular incarnation to learn about yourself. It's like the soul looking at itself by having you come to the planet. So it's kind of one way of giving yourself a little bit of allowance to give yourself a break as you experience the completion of one cycle and the beginning of a new one. So anyway, I hope that you found that helpful. I wish you much love as always.